everybody, and welcome to ET Live. I'm Cassie Delora, and thank y'all so much for joining us as we recap country music's biggest night, the 54th annual CMA Awards. We have so much to talk about. Let's kick things off with the biggest award of the night, Entertainer of the Year. Eric Church took home the CMA's highest honor for the first time in his career. And I gotta say, lucky number 4 for Eric, because this is the 4th time he was nominated in the prestigious category. This is his 4th CMA award under his belt in his career. And this is his first win in 4 years since taking home Album of the Year back in 2016. This is a very well-deserved win for Eric Church. And during his acceptance speech, the 43-year-old called for unity and also joked that he really had nothing prepared. Take a listen.
This award this year, at least for me, has been about the loss of this year. Loss of life, loss of playing shows, loss of freedom, loss of kids being in school. And you know what the win is? The win is we're here tonight together.
Very well said. And I will say this win does come as a bit of a surprise because a lot of people had their momentum behind either Carrie Underwood or Miranda Lambert taking home Entertainer of the Year, because out of the show's 54-year history, women have only won that award 7 times. But still, like I said earlier, a very well-deserved win for Eric Church. It was also a big night at the CMAs for Morgan Wallen, who hit the stage for his first live performance since being pulled from SNL last month. The 27-year-old also took home his first CMA award for New Artist of the Year. And really great news for Morgan fans, he announced his new double album, Dangerous, will be out in January. And he told ET that it will have 32 songs. So I feel like it's safe to say I expect many more CMA awards to come for Morgan Wallen. Now, while it was a big night for celebration during country music's biggest night, it was a bit of a bummer for a handful of artists who had to pull out of the show due to testing positive for COVID-19 ahead of the ceremony. We're going to tell you who is dealing with positive test results, how the show pivoted, and what protocols or lack of protocols have the internet talking. Now, there is so much to dive into from country music's biggest night, and I cannot talk about it all myself, which is why I have some of my favorite faces in the country music industry joining me. We've got Graham Bunn, who is the host of Spotify's Country Shine podcast and a near and dear friend of mine. We also have Elena Smith, host of Westwood One's nationally syndicated Nights with Elena. And we have Tiara, who is a singer-songwriter in Nashville and also the host of The Tiara Show on Apple Music. So we are going to break down the biggest moments from the night, beginning with that Entertainer of the Year win for Eric Church. You guys, this is a big win for Eric. Like we mentioned earlier, he was nominated for this award 4 times in the past, and now he finally has the win. Kind of always the bridesmaid, but never the bride. But now he finally has his bride moment. Graham, I want to kick things off with you, talking about what makes Eric the perfect person for Entertainer of the Year, because like we said before, he's been nominated for this award many times in the past. It's well-deserved.
Yeah, I don't know if he's the perfect choice. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those entertainers. And I think the star of that award, if you look in the background, is Mr. Luke Combs, who a lot of people would have put money at the top of the leaderboard for him this year. I was hopeful. You mentioned it in the opening that Miranda and Carrie both had a lot of momentum. I thought off the strength of Wild Card for Miranda that this was going to be her year. But I will say this. The reason that I say Luke Combs is the star of that is because he's so excited. Luke and Eric went to college at the same university that I did. So it's a big night for our university and all the alums. I am proud of Eric's speech. But again, as much as I hate to say this, I was definitely pulling for Miranda. I thought this was going to be her night. And I'm happy for Eric. And I'm happy for everyone that went to App State, stand up Mountaineers. But again, I think we are trending in the right direction as far as shedding light on the incredible talent that female country artists deserve. And so it was a special night. Win, lose, or draw, I thought tonight was all about the ladies.
Very well said. Speaking of those ladies, it was the first time that two women were nominated for Entertainer of the Year in that same category, two solo female artists, since 1979. And in the show's 40-year history, only 54-year history, I should say, only 7 females have won the award. So I want to ask you, Elena, because you and I have had many conversations off camera about women in country music. Do you feel like this loss for Carrie and Miranda is a bit of a setback during a time when representation for females in country music is a big topic of conversation trying to be addressed?
I would like to say it's not a setback just because that would put a negative connotation on it. But I do feel as though it is a bit of a disappointment for a lot of us because we've been having this conversation for a long time, and the conversation of as well of, what it means to actually be an Entertainer of the Year. I've seen both Eric's shows, I've seen Carrie's shows, I've seen Miranda's shows, and, there's so many different ways that you can compare and contrast, but to me, it's just like we're seeing that same conversation of how much harder does a woman have to work in order to prove herself. And so it gets a little bit exhausting. And, you wonder how much more do they have to do. And so I think in this very moment right now, a lot of us are feeling a little hurt and a little setback. So, we'll take it, we'll analyze it, we'll continue talking about it and continue moving the conversation forward.
Tiara, I wanted to ask you next because you are a female artist in country music. And I feel like a Carrie Underwood or Miranda Lambert win would have been so symbolic for the younger generation of female country artists, kind of being able to see that as an example, like, we are being acknowledged. We have a seat at this table. Do you feel disappointed that they did not take home Entertainer of the Year? How are you feeling with this category?
I think a lot of us were disappointed because I definitely grew up listening to Carrie and Miranda. But I do want to acknowledge the fact that Eric, he is a great performer. But I'm always rooting for my girls. I'm always, when it's Carrie and Miranda, I'm always rooting for them. So it is a little disappointing. But I think the way that they always handle the way that the awards go, they just do it with class. And so, I really admire that.
One word that you mentioned right there when you were talking about Eric is performer. And I had a chance to see him play at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. This is a man who is just up there with his microphone with a sold out arena, back-to-back nights, who has never really, cared for what outsiders think of him. And he is a singer, he is a songwriter at his core, and he, I don't want to say country outlaw, but what I love about him is that he has always remained true to himself. So as much as I do wish one of the ladies would have taken home the win, this is very well deserved for Eric Church, long overdue, and congratulations are in order for him. But I want to move on to a very powerful woman in country music who had a very big night tonight, taking home multiple wins. Maren Morris, the female vocalist of the year this year at the CMAs, she used her acceptance speech to acknowledge Black female country artists in the industry in one of the most special moments of the night. Take a look.
There are so many amazing Black women that pioneered and continue to pioneer this genre. And I know they're going to come after me. They've come before me, but you've made this genre so, so beautiful. I hope you know that we see you. Thank you for making me so inspired as a singer in this genre.
Tiara, you have been very open about your journey as a Black female artist in the country music industry. What were your thoughts about this moment with Maren Morris?
I think Maren has always been great at using her platform for good, and so I think the fact that she used her win to kind of acknowledge all of the amazing Black females in country music is so amazing because there are so many that I feel like people don't know about. And so I love that she, kind of used her moment to spotlight other artists. I think that was amazing.
Do you feel like the CMA Awards made progress this year with representation? They had Jimmy Allen performing his #1 single, also Darius Rucker hosting. Do you feel like they met this moment in a time where representation is so important?
Absolutely. And I mean, I gotta say, I was just like dying watching Jimmy and Charlie Pride. It was just like the squishiest moment ever. And I love that they shared that moment on stage. But I mean, I think CMA has always been great at representing all colors, and they've just always done a great job. And I think they definitely did that with the CMA Awards. So I'm really proud of that.
I love that you mentioned Jimmy and Charlie because Jimmy told ET backstage that it was a great honor performing with Charlie. And he says he's been a fan of his since he was young. And it was an honor because now he says his son will be able to look back at this and hopefully see more Black men in country music. I thought that was really special. All right, you guys, I want to move on to another big topic of conversation tonight, and that was how hard COVID-19 hit Nashville and country music artists. Earlier this week, Florida Georgia Line's Tyler Hubbard revealed that he tested positive for COVID-19, which meant he and his bandmate Brian Kelly were unable to partake in their scheduled Florida Georgia Line performance. Also testing positive for the coronavirus ahead of the ceremony, Lee Brice. He was supposed to perform his duet, I Hope You're Happy Now, with Carly Pearce. Instead, Lady A's Charles Kelly stepped in for Lee for the performance, which luckily was pre-taped because at the start of the show, Lady A took to social media to announce that they would not be in attendance nor performing due to someone testing positive in their family. Another band also absent from their scheduled performance, Rascal Flatts. They revealed one of their bandmates tested positive. Also absent from a performance we are looking forward to is fiddler Janae Fleener, who was supposed to partake in the opening tribute for Charlie Daniels. Obviously, looking at the CMA Awards, it did look a little bit different. It was not at Bridgestone Arena this year. It was at the Music City Center, which is across the street. It's a little bit more intimate. You may have noticed watching it broadcasting live that there was no live audience. A lot of the artists were scattered, socially distant in the crowd. But I will say, noticeably missing were masks, which has a lot of people on social media criticizing the CMA Awards, which led to the Country Music Association releasing a statement during the middle of the show saying, we are following all protocols that have been put in place by the CDC, as well as the creative unions, to ensure we provide the safest environment possible. Prior to even stepping onto our footprint at Music City Center, every single person, including artists and their representatives, was required to be tested, with many testing repeatedly throughout the week as an extra measure of precaution. Just as with COVID regulations at restaurants, all in attendance are required to wear a mask anytime they leave their assigned seat. Staff and crew are also required to wear PPE at all times and, of course, practice social and physical distancing. Tables are spaced 8 feet apart with no more than 4 people seated per table. I feel like that statement from the Country Music Association may answer a lot of people's questions that were wondering why some artists at the tables were not wearing masks. Also, this shows that their protocols were working because, as we just mentioned, as we just listed, the handful of artists that were not able to attend tonight because of positive COVID-19 test results, this shows that their protocols were very strict. They were in place. But Tiara, Graham, and Elena, what I want to ask you guys is, at a time where we're seeing in many parts of the country, huge spikes to the point where cities are threatening to shut down again. Was this the right move to have the show, and what did you think of the protocols? Graham, I'll start with you.
Well, I was very fortunate enough to have one of my close friends be a presenter tonight, so big shout out to Mr. Patrick Schwarzenegger. I don't think anyone can pull off a turtleneck as well as you do, so you crushed it tonight, sir. But I spoke to him about the protocols, and they were very rigorous, and he could not rave about how safe he felt. And I think it was a wonderful thing that they put on the awards. I know a lot of people are hurting right now. I know there's been a lot of loss in this world, and COVID is not going away anytime soon. So finding a way to continue things that give us joy, that celebrate things that we love, like music, and the accomplishments of amazing artists, producers, songwriters, I think is very important in this time. And I was grateful for it. Now, I know it's dangerous, and I'm not making light of any pandemic precautions at all. But I was very thankful for the sacrifices so many people made and that enabled this show to go on. So big shout out to all of the first responders and all the medical workers and testers out there making sacrifices to help us live our lives just a little bit more normal than they usually were this week.
Elena, I know you've been doing interviews all week long leading up to the CMA Awards. What kind of conversations did you have with artists about safety protocols and maybe even conversations about nerves? Was anybody nervous to partake in the event?
Everyone seemed really comfortable with how the whole layout was planned and how everybody was taking care of everybody. And I mean, no one ever talked about being uncomfortable. We asked that question quite a bit, pretty much to every single artist. And there were many times that we would wait for hours for an artist to come through because they were waiting on test results. So they wouldn't even let an artist in the building, the management in the building, nobody in the building unless they were for sure tested negative. So, I mean, they were taking all the right precautions. And like Graham said, you know, we're so thankful to everybody that was working so hard to make that possible because, yes, we still do need joy. And no, this was not the first awards show to happen this year. So I'm really proud of how they really handled it all.
Tia, really quickly, as a singer-songwriter, you know better than anyone the healing power of music. Do you feel like this was the right move to have the show?
Yeah, I mean, there is nothing like a live show and feeling the energy in the room. I've done a lot of like pre-recorded shows that are, you know, just like shown from, like I've filmed them in my apartment, you know, and you don't get to feel the energy of the crowd. And so I think it's amazing that I think CMA, you know, took the right precautions and made everybody feel safe. And I think it like Graham said, like it's just nice to be able to live life a little more normal and have awards like we usually do.
But with all that being said, I can't wait for hopefully next year where we're all back at the CMA Awards and on the red carpet. We're able to hug each other.